Don't hold me hostage for 30 pages. What's the point of life? I'm hating on the dead guy. A heartbreaking and emotional one, and that's the type of thing that I love. So I've got some books on my TBR that I feel like have 5-star potential, and this year I said I wanted to get at least one 5-star read every single month. February, we're like in the middle of it, and I haven't had a 5-star read yet. I had 3 in January and I felt very lucky, and now I just want another one for February. So I'm going through my TBR and all the ones that I feel like have 5-star potential. We're gonna be reading those, and hopefully we find at least one in this video. I feel like even if these books turn out to be 4 stars or 4.5, that's still really good, and I'm still obviously gonna have a great time reading these books, so hoping for the best. The book that I wanted to start with is Loved One. I remember when this came out, it was just everywhere, and I put it on my TBR and I was like, I'll get to this eventually. Now is the time. It just sounds so good to me. Basically, this is about a girl named Julia and her first love when she was a teenager. His name was Gabe, and that didn't work out like teenage first relationships often don't. And in their late 20s, early 30s, they stayed friends and they ended up just being really, really good friends. But Gabe, as a musician, dies. And so Julia goes to different countries, or maybe just one country, I don't know. She goes traveling to try to find his possessions, specifically a guitar. And on this journey, she meets his ex-girlfriend, his last girlfriend before he died. Her name is Elizabeth. And I think we're just gonna follow their relationship, whether it's a positive or negative one. I think it's gonna be a rocky one. I'm pretty sure Elizabeth is like holding the guitar hostage, and that's like the problem. I don't actually know, but we'll see how this one goes. The whole premise of it just sounds really good to me, and I feel like this has 5-star potential. So this is the first book, and let's see if Loved One is a 5-star read. You know, I feel like I've never been too opinionated on short chapters versus long chapters, because in my head, I just feel like if the chapters are long, I know sometimes it does get annoying, but you kind of go along with the book faster, because it's like if you're saying 2 more chapters before bed, you end up reading like 40, 50 pages or something. Anyway, one thing I don't like though is when a first chapter is way too long. I just feel like we're just getting to know each other here. Don't hold me hostage for 30 pages. I feel like first chapters should not be any longer than 15 pages. That first chapter was really long. Also, there are flashbacks in the middle of chapters, and it's telling us how she and Gabe met and how they started out. And I don't know if I love how that's being written. There was just this random moment of them in Barcelona, that's where they met, and it's just, I don't know. I think the way that it's being written is just not my favorite. I feel like lately I've been complaining about books that have flashbacks or past chapters, and one, it's kind of hard to know if they're gonna have that or not when you're buying a book. I also don't hate past chapters or past and present timelines or flashbacks. I just feel like sometimes it's not done well. Like, it's just done in a way that takes you so much out of the story. Like, we're here at a funeral, and then in the middle of this chapter, this first chapter where we're at his funeral, you're like throwing us back to Barcelona when they first met. And I guess it makes sense. We should know who the funeral is for, but yeah, it definitely just takes me out of the story. I don't love the writing so far, but I'm still very intrigued by the story, so we'll see how it goes. Last night, I made it to page 187, chapter 14 of Loved One, and it's going by so fast, partially because some of the chapters are randomly really long. It's not like I'm binging it because I'm in love with it, because honestly, the first like 140 pages was kind of underwhelming. I can already tell you that it's probably not gonna be a 5-star read. Actually, it's definitely not gonna be a 5-star read. I feel like a whole 140 pages, having it take me that long to get into it is kind of rough. Also, I really don't like Gabe, which I feel so bad about saying. I'm hating on the dead guy. That's so horrible of me. And honestly, the thing that made me start to get into it is that they started to argue, the main character Julia and the ex-girlfriend Elizabeth. They like met up and they were kind of acting like they could be friends. They were trying to be cordial, and it was obviously very fake. And I was just like, yeah, argue it out. You might as well. We can all tell that you don't like each other, so you might as well just argue it out. So tension started to rise, and that's the thing that got me interested. I like the honesty now. I don't know what that says about me, but going back to Gabe for a second, there was this part on page 166. He's talking to Julia about Elizabeth. And actually, no, was he talking about Elizabeth? Oh, yeah, kind of, sort of. He's just talking in general. So she goes, long distance is really hard. And he's like, yeah, but being with Elizabeth made me see that it was possible to devote myself to work in someone else, that I could do it if I wanted to. And she's like, so? And he goes, I didn't want to do it with her. Gabriel. He's very, I don't know. He just seems to think of himself a lot, and maybe he has commitment issues. I don't know. I need to read more to get like, it doesn't even matter really because he's gone. R.I.P. Gabe. But it's just what I'm reading about him so far is don't love him. And for me, I have always been okay with reading about characters that I don't like, don't agree with, or I find annoying, but I'm kind of bothered. I'm not gonna lie. I feel like it's been my thing where I'm like, hey, these characters are unlikable. I'll give you guys the disclaimer, but I can handle that. I'm a little bothered. Anyway, I think I'm gonna go sit by the pool, even though it's really not warm enough to be doing that. But I'm gonna go sit by the pool and pretend. And I think I'm gonna try to finish it today because I kind of just want to move on. We already know it's not 5 stars. I also am not DNFing this because I kind of want to know where it goes. So, and as I said, I kind of just started to get into it, even though I feel like that took way too long to really start getting into it, but better late than never, I guess. So I'm done with Loved One, and I think the last thing I was talking about was how the characters were kind of annoying me, and at the time it was mostly just Gabe, who is already dead. That just sounds so bad, I'm sorry, but it was him and the ghost of his past, I guess. And Julia, she started to annoy me a little bit because obviously she's on this quest to get back his possessions, and it just feels like the reason she's not succeeding at getting them back, it just feels so silly and stupid. It's just like, girl, stop being a doormat, just get the things and go. And then Elizabeth started to annoy me a little bit. She's kind of rude. But honestly, everyone kind of started to get justified. Like, it all kind of made sense why they were the way that they were. We got explanations for it. And I think I feel the most for Elizabeth, the ex-girlfriend. I obviously feel for Julia, like being in her perspective, you understand her the most. And at the end of the day, it's all just because they're grieving and they're going through such intense emotions. Gabe obviously cannot redeem himself. And I feel like his reasons for being the way that he it just isn't justified. He was immature, selfish, and cannot communicate to save his life. Like, you're a grown man. Do better. Well, this is all terrible. I'm saying do better and he's already passed away. I'm sorry, okay? It's just the way that the story was told. We're just getting so much of him in like the middle of chapters. Sometimes I forget he's gone. I'm sorry, okay? And then his mom came in at the end somehow and started to annoy me. And I was like, I see where you get your charming personality from, Gabriel. Anyway, that's like all of the negative I have to say. I actually did quite enjoy the end of it. Like, from page 140-ish onwards, I really did enjoy it, but it's just like, a book really shouldn't take me that long to get into it, and the characters were annoying, so it's definitely not a 5-star read. I'm thinking I'm gonna land on like 3.5 stars, and I think I would like to read more by this author. I said everything that I could possibly say about this book. I love the cover though. I love primary colors together. Blue, yellow, and red. Although now that I said that, this red is looking kind of orange. Some people would probably call this orange, but all the lights in my bedroom are like yellow, so maybe that's why it looks orange. Pretty sure it's red. I also love how now that I've read the book, I understand what this picture represents, like the glass of wine that's full and one that's empty. There's meaning behind that. I love that. So yeah, that's what we're giving Loved One, 3.5 stars. It was really quick and easy to get through, kind of against your will because the chapters are long. Some of them are long, some of them are pretty short, but also I think after you really get into it, you'll want to continue reading it more and more. That's what happened to me anyway. I wouldn't count this one out. It just isn't my favorite, and it definitely isn't a 5-star read, which is what I'm looking for. And unfortunately, this is not that. So 3.5 stars, let's keep looking. I think I know what I'm going with next. So as you saw this morning, I started my next book, Such Good People, and honestly I'm getting so much into it because I usually walk on the treadmill for like 1 hour, and I decided I should increase something, either the time or the speed or the incline, and I definitely didn't want to do speed or incline because I'm still lazy. So instead of 1 hour, I'm on the treadmill for 1 hour and 30 minutes, and I can't believe how much reading I get done in that time. Like, obviously I know it's gonna be more reading than just 1 hour, but that extra 30 minutes, I just keep going. Anyway, I started Such Good People. This is the next book for this reading vlog, and this is a book about two people who've been friends for the longest time, April and Rudy, and one night in front of a Manhattan bar, or inside a Manhattan bar, something of the sort, something happens and it ends up with Rudy getting incarcerated, and April, obviously she's still out living her life and she moves on, she gets married, has children, but the day that Rudy is getting out of prison, it kind of alters their life because April's new husband, Peter, he is a local politician and he's running for local office, and this becomes this whole story of the politician's wife is involved in a death and is connected to an ex-felon, ex-con, I don't know these terms, but you get the point. And so yeah, that's the basis of the story. It sounded so interesting to me, and The last line in the description says, April is faced with an impossible choice: protect the life she created or the person who sacrificed everything to make that life a possibility. And I feel like that's the perfect way to describe this story, and it just sounds like it's gonna be a heartbreaking and emotional one, and that's the type of thing that I love. It's already been quite a ride so far. It says, Such Good People is a captivating portrait of blurred lines, divided loyalties, and what it means to love purely, steadfastly, and endlessly. So yeah, I'm already on chapter 12, which is page 130 of this book, and I think it's so interesting how for my last read, I was complaining about authors not doing past and present timelines that well, and I just don't like how it's done. And this is a book that has past and present chapters and from different POVs, and I just think it's being done so well here. And this is exactly what I mean. Like, sometimes when it's done well, I do love past and present timeline. I love it. I love the way that this story is being told. So I can't stop. I won't stop reading past and present timeline because sometimes it hits. This story has been so captivating to me because it's so interesting to see how differently people perceive an interaction. The POVs we've gotten so far are from Rudy, April, and Jillian. Rudy and April are the two main characters who have been friends before, and I won't say who Jillian is. It's not really a spoiler, but you can find that out for yourself. I won't say who Jillian is. And it's so funny to read Jillian's point of view and see how when she's talking to Rudy, she thinks, oh, he's standoffish and he's rude and whatever and whatnot. And then in Rudy's own point of view, he just feels awkward and maybe he's just fidgeting a little bit. He's trying to be nice and he doesn't want to come off anyway, but he's just a little awkward. He's feeling awkward in the moment. It's the way that they both see the same exact interactions, it's very real, but also miscommunication is really the downfall of human beings, isn't it? It's the next day. I'm on page 202, so I've only got 139 pages left. This book has been so addicting to read. I never want to put it down. I stay up way later than I should reading it. I just feel like I really needed to know what happened in the past, what's going to happen next, and I just feel like I'm obsessed with the way the story is being told and the way that it's just flowing right now. The justice system, I think we all know that it's flawed, but I just feel like reading this, I'm this justice system is just weird. It's quite odd. Who made this up and thought this is the best we can do? It obviously is so heartbreaking, and I feel so much for Rudy and his family and just everyone involved, and it's just none of this is even making sense, and it almost feels like they're doing too much, and it's just because he's a part of a marginalized group. I don't know. Obviously this kind of topic is going to make you feel emotional and angry, but I've been feeling like I just want to cry. And then I have to tell myself it's just a book, but then you also tell yourself this is literally happening to people. I've been having a good time reading it so far, and I think one of the reasons that I just am constantly flipping the pages, ready to find out what's happening next, because I desperately want a happy ending or a content ending for all the people that were affected by this. This is so random, but Beyonce was mentioned. Beyonce was playing on the radio. It was just a random thing. And then I thought about, if I went to prison for 13 years, what albums would I miss from my favorite artists? This is so stupid, but surely when you go away for 13 years, you do think about the small things too. Prison scares me, and you know what? It's meant to. It's designed that way. But then there's the odd cases where you're in prison and you did nothing. That's actually my worst nightmare. That makes me never want to leave the house. Being in the wrong place at the wrong time could get you there. No. You know, I said it already and I'll say it again. I just love the way that this story flowed. I love how it was told. I feel like it was a movie in my head. Like, a book about someone being wrongly incarcerated is not something we've never seen before, but I really just love how this was told, and I love how the explanation like came out and how we kind of got the reveal of what really happened that night. I personally love how detailed it was. I feel like the bits of it that did explain what happened that night and the reveal of what happened that night might not be for everyone, because it does go into medical and legal jargon, and that part might just not sit well with everyone, but it's nothing too hard to understand. And to me, I was just so captivated. I was like, and then what? And then what? Oh my God, that's really what happened? That makes so much sense. Like, all of the pieces just started to fall together, in my opinion. And I feel like if you watch How to Get Away with Murder, Scandal, Grey's Anatomy, like I do, love all those shows, this kind of medical and legal jargon isn't going to be too bad for you. Like, it's nothing that's too hard to understand. It definitely just was a moment there of us figuring out with another character what really happened that night, and it went into great detail there. Might not be for everyone. I personally loved getting an explanation like that, and it just felt so like, yeah, that checks out. I think that I said yesterday that we get 3 POVs, but we actually got a 4th one. Peter, her husband, who is the one running for office, the husband slash politician who is obviously going to be affected by this entire situation. We get his point of view as well. And at first I thought that I wasn't gonna like him, and I thought he was gonna really annoy me. I think it was handled in a delicate way, and you can see his frustrations. And a part of you is like, all right, Peter, let's slow your roll now. Let's not get too angry. Let's not raise our voice now. But also you understand that he's just a human being in a really complicated situation, and he loves his wife and his family. And it's just like, I don't even know this guy that's in prison. I've never met this guy. It's just a whole complicated situation, and you kind of feel for him. So every moment where you kind of want to tell him, lower your voice, Peter, you kind of get it, you know? I think there were brief moments where I was like, okay, Peter, you already have a beautiful family, you're successful, you have a great job. Do you really need power too? Like, do you need to have it all? Like, maybe just forget about the race, who cares? But no, I definitely do understand what he was going through. I understand what everyone in this book was going through. It's just such a messed up situation. I really did enjoy this book. I loved the way that it wrapped up. I was kind of like tearing up a little bit at the pool. Maybe it was just the wind though. It's kind of windy today. This is definitely a 5-star read for me. A heartbreaking and devastating book, but 5 stars nonetheless. And I really do like the ending of it. It doesn't leave you feeling hopeless. So I really appreciate that too, because I feel like some of the books I've been reading lately, it's just like, what's the point of life? But this didn't make me feel hopeless, so I really recommend this. I feel like I don't really hear people talking about this book. I don't even really remember how I found this. I think I was scrolling randomly. I don't know, but I'm really happy that I found it, and I really recommend it. So we got our first 5-star read. I don't know what I'm gonna read next. We're gonna read one more book, and I don't know if I'm gonna read it tonight. I'll probably start tomorrow, but we have to choose another book to see if that is also going to be a 5-star. I'm glad we at least got one because the last book wasn't looking too good. The first 5-star of February, and I probably will be recommending this book a lot throughout the year, just in general, so go read it. So I started Anxious People this morning, and the reason why I'm choosing a Frederick Backman book is because I've read 4 of his books and I rated them all 5 stars. And I also read one of his short stories. It was literally under 70 pages, I think. I still rated that 4 stars. So clearly I think very highly of his work, and I feel like another one of his books is a high chance 4 or 5-star read. I kind of forgot that I had this on my physical TBR. It's like, this is the perfect time to read it. I think the only thing that kind of worries me about this one is that the books that I read by Frederick Backman has been so character driven, and there isn't too much of a plot, or the plot just isn't that big, I guess. And it feels like this one has a bigger plot because it's about a bank robber who held 8 strangers hostage at an apartment showing. And the thing about that is, I feel like Frederick Backman just has a way of writing about human connection, and he's going to turn it around and still make it very character driven. So far, I've only read 34 pages, but I'm already seeing that he is doing that. At first, I was thinking that's possibly the only thing that might not make it a 5-star read, if it's more plot driven than character driven. And even though there definitely is a plot, I think it's still his usual writing. It's still exactly what I expect from his writing based on the previous books I read from him. But that's just how I feel about it so far. I'll have to continue it and see. There was this one thing that I read here. I need to find it. It was something about when you're a parent, you get judged based on all of your... Oh, here it is. It says, do you know what the worst thing about being a parent is? That you're always judged by your worst moments. And then it goes on to a paragraph, and the end of that paragraph says parents are defined by their mistakes. And I don't know why, I feel like I've read that exact same sentence in a different Frederick Backman book. Like, maybe not, maybe I read it somewhere else, but I feel like I read that sentence in the point of view of the mother from Beartown. What was her name? I just looked it up. Kira Anderson. I feel like Kira Anderson said those exact words, or she had that thought when we were in her point of view. I don't know if that's true or not though, but that entire line just sounds so familiar to me. It's not anything that profound. Surely I could have read it somewhere else, but I feel like it's a Frederick Backman thing. Anyway, I'm gonna continue reading this, see how it goes. I'm really liking it so far. As I said, like, I think when you crack open a Frederick Backman book, it's like you just get this special feeling when you know you're reading the writing that you love. So, good so far, and I'll keep you updated. Okay, so I finally finished Anxious People. I just finished it out this morning. Honestly, I read a lot of it yesterday and I didn't film anything because I didn't feel like there was anything to update on, because this is low-key a mystery as well. We don't know why this person is robbing the bank. We don't know why they are holding 8 strangers hostage, and as you go along, you figure it out, and there are 2 police officers also trying to figure it out and crack the case in this really small town. And it was fun to read along and find out the really insane reveal. I mean, insane reveal in the way that this book is very, very unserious. I feel like I don't even know how to explain it. It was also really funny, but it's kind of dark humor, and it's also kind of not dark enough to make me feel hopeless. Like, I still just felt so hopeful when I was reading this, and I don't know what kind of humor this is. It was kind of dark, but kind of not. Is this Swedish humor? I really loved it though. I feel like this was the most fast-paced Frederick Backman book that I've ever read, and I think maybe it's because the chapters are so short. Like this is an example of one of the short chapters. It's literally just 2 paragraphs on a page. And so this went by really, really fast. I can't lie, the beginning of it, I was like, I don't know how I feel about this. Like, this is weird. But then I got into it very quickly. As I expected, Frederick Backman found a way to connect all of these people and finding out each of their connections and finding out how they had connections to each other without even knowing themselves was so interesting. And I love how he writes about small towns. I mean, a part of me is like, how small does a town have to be for you to all be connected this way? But at the same time, it's like, I kind of get that though. I feel like this book is a lesson on empathy. It should be required reading on empathy. It's just, it was such a beautiful and wholesome story in the end, even though it's about a bank robber and a hostage situation. I don't even know how to explain or describe this book. Honestly, it's so many different things that I don't really know what to say. It was really good though, and it has Frederick Backman's typical writing of like, you will get these really amazing quotes and wisdom on life, and you see old people and young people connecting, and you can see that they're learning things from each other, and I think it's always beautiful how he does that. I also sometimes feel like when I read about people in Frederick Backman's books, I'm like, we're all just really doing our best, and I wish I could meet more people like this. In the end, the people in his books always find a way to express their emotions, and I just feel like we don't do that enough. Another thing that feels so unusual is finishing a Frederick Backman book and feeling like content and not sad and not crying and throwing up. Like, I just feel like there's hope, like everything's going to be okay. And that's uncommon for a Frederick Backman book, so that was nice. Very unserious. The whole bank robbery of it all and the hostage situation, the actual plot of it is very unrealistic and silly, and it's kind of fun. But then when you focus more on what the people are going through and what they're all experiencing and what they're all learning from each other, it's really beautiful. And now I feel like I need to watch the show. It says that it's a Netflix series, so I'd love to see that. As usual, there's so many things that I underlined and annotated in here because that's just how it is with Frederick Backman's books. With all that being said though, it's not 5 stars. And I said this before, I have a tendency when I read one author, a lot of their books, I have a tendency to compare them to themselves. I do it with Kristen Hanna. And I just feel like this is nowhere on the level as the other books I've read by him that are 5-star reads. It was still really, really good though, and this is still going to be 4.5 stars, but it's not a 5-star read, unfortunately. Close enough though. As I said when I started this video, I was okay with finding books that were gonna be 4 stars or 4.5 because I feel like that's still great anyway, and I know that I'm still gonna have an amazing time reading them, so I feel like this video was still a success because we found 1 5-star read. Speaking of, let's do a wrap up. These are the 3 books we read in today's video. Loved One was 3.5 stars. Didn't exactly do what I thought it would, but it was still okay. And then Such Good People, a 5-star read, my newest 5-star read that I will be raving about, and this was such an emotional book for me. I really recommend this, you should go read it. And of course, Anxious People by Frederick Backman, 4.5. So these two really, I feel like it did what the video was meant to do, and this one just didn't really hit the mark, but still a great reading experience nonetheless. And honestly, I think with this one, it's a situation where I found an author that I would be willing to read again. I just don't know about these characters in this one and this story itself, but I think I would read more books by this author if she ever came out with anything else. If you've read any of these books, I would love to know your thoughts down below. Also, if you've watched Anxious People, I would love to know your thoughts on that as well, the show. And if you got to this point of the video, comment a wine glass, the like red wine glass for this book cover because I think this book cover is just so iconic. Kind of sad that I don't love the book as well, but you know. That's all I've got. Thanks for watching. I will see you next week. Bye.